time has come for me to finally stop putting off making all of the corset tops I've been wanting for my wardrobe. I had several fabrics and items to thrift flip specifically set aside for the job, and 3 main designs I would be using: 2 historically inspired patterns and 1 modified bodice pattern from the white linen dress I made last summer. The red toile pillow sham, the light sage floral pink dress, and the black velvet shirt scraps were all going to be used with the first pattern from Butterick with a tapered waistline and ties at the shoulders. I then chose my lining fabrics: a black upcycled bedsheet for the black velvet, the grayish-purple lining of the dress itself for the sage floral print, and another upcycled bedsheet in red for the toile print. The floral upholstery fabric and the black and white striped fabric would be getting the most difficult pattern, the 18th century corset, which is the most complicated of the 3 designs. I decided to use this yellow-green fabric for the lining of both, since it complemented the earthy colors in the floral print well, and paired with the striped fabric will make the perfect Beetlejuice-inspired piece. Lastly, this brown pencil skirt and green fabric remnant were slated to become the 3rd design, modified from a dress bodice. I didn't know what I wanted for the lining of the green fabric yet, thinking I might embroider the fabric first, but for the brown one I had this printed cotton that I got on clearance. Rather than make each of these one at a time, I decided to cut out all of my pattern pieces for each different top all at once, which meant starting out cutting apart all of the garments that were to be upcycled. These were all either thrifted or hand-me-down. Once separated, some of the fabric pieces were odd shapes or a bit too small in one direction for the pattern pieces I needed to cut out, so I had to get creative with my spacing to make everything fit. For the red toile, I laid the pattern over the specific parts of the design I wanted to use, and I had to split the back piece into 2 separate pieces, laid at a slight angle, since the pillow sham was just a smidge too short for the pattern. The sage floral dress and its purple lining gave me the most difficulty with this, as once I had separated all the bigger pieces of the dress, I found I had less fabric to work with than I expected. I was able to cut out the front and side front of both the lining and shell with no problems, but the back again had to be split in 2 for both the lining and the shell, completely going against the grain and the direction of the pattern, and I even had to patch together the straps from 2 separate pieces. I had enough of the black velvet shirt, which I previously used to make a black velvet collar back in 2023, to cut everything out in the right direction, but again I had to split the back and I couldn't avoid using the spot where the front pocket had been removed. Here are the modifications that I made to this first pattern. For the black velvet, I actually did not do any modifications, partly because I didn't really have that much of the velvet to work with. The red one, I lengthened it a little bit at the waist, and then what else did I do? I think the only other modification for the red was that I ended up making the back piece 2 pieces. Oh, I did have to split the back of the black one as well. So in both of those cases, I made sure to add in a 1/2 inch seam allowance where I split the back piece, because normally that's just one section of fabric. The green floral one, I had to make the most adjustments to pattern-wise. I think I want to make this one more like how I made my green overdress a couple months ago, where instead of laying everything flat together with right sides out and then closing it up with binding along the edges, I think I want to put it together, right sides together, and then flip everything right sides out so that the seam allowance is tucked inside the garment. So to do that, as we learned previously the hard way, I had to add seam allowance kind of all around. I realized I still didn't quite do it the right way. Again, for this one, I had to split up the back piece, and my back pieces are gonna have the pattern facing the wrong direction, which is not ideal, but to be honest, I don't care that much. So I made sure to, again, add seam allowance down that center back where I split a piece that wasn't originally split. I added seam allowance on the side where it connects to the back. I did forget to add seam allowance along the front. I probably also should have added it around the arm side and the neckline and everything, but I didn't for the overdress that I made, and I think that looked fine. Having added the extra seam allowance that I already did remember to add, I think it'll be okay. And again, I lengthened this one as well a little bit. This one was much harder because, again, I did not have that much fabric to work with. It looked deceptively like I had plenty, and then as I was trying to line up the pieces and avoid some stains that were on the fabric, I was like, oh, I'm really cutting it close here. But you guys know how I love to squeeze clothing out of insufficient amounts of fabric, so it's kind of my thing, I guess. Anyway, these are cut out. Now I need to add interfacing to a few of these. Something I saw recently though, a couple months ago, I was watching a video where someone attached their fusible interfacing by just laying the sheet of it over their cutout pieces and then cutting it out of the sheet of fusible interfacing, and my mind was blown. Because what I've been doing previously is using my pattern pieces to cut out the shape of interfacing that I need and then fusing it. Obviously it's worked well enough so far, but sometimes it is hard to get everything to line up correctly. So when I saw someone just like fuse it to the full sheet and then cut it out from the sheet, it's bloody brilliant. I'm gonna try it. So I did not like that method of adding fusible interfacing. It might have been more time efficient, but it meant unpeeling my pressing cloth from the surrounding interfacing, and it was kind of a mess. Both layers of the sage floral top and the red lining of the toile top got interfacing added. Cutting out the pieces for the next pattern was a bit more straightforward without having to work around fabric restrictions, but I did make an effort to line up the pieces of the striped fabric so that the stripes would match along the seams. They still ended up being a bit off, but I'm really not bothered enough to redo it. These also needed an interlining layer to act as a casing for the boning, which I made from some scraps of cotton muslin. After marking out the stitching lines on these, I sewed them directly onto the outer corset pieces, stitching along all vertical lines. Lastly, I cut out my third design from the pieces of this skirt, which just barely had enough fabric to make everything fit. I added interfacing to the brown outer layer of this corset since the fabric tends to shift around while working with it. Well, here we are, almost 2 weeks later. To be fair, I did not have time to work on this every single day, but that was a lot of time that it took to cut out every outside fabric lining, stabilizing layer, like, oh my gosh. And there are 6 of them total. It was gonna be 7. I decided to not make a corset top with this green fabric for now because I might have other plans for this, and I just don't feel super strongly about using this for a corset top right now, so I'm gonna hold off on that for now, but that still leaves me with 6. Still, it's still a lot. So these 3 in the first design that we talked about are cut out, stabilized, ready for me to start putting the pieces together. This second design that is based on the historical undergarments is also ready for me to start putting together because I put in all of the interlining and did the stitch lines for the boning, but right now they're wet and drying because I wanted to wash out the marker lines that were in them, but I can start putting together the lining. And then for my third design that now I only have the basic brown one, I don't have the lining cut out yet. This is the only thing I still need to cut out because I literally just got this out of the dryer. So I just wanted to make sure that that was pre-washed before I started working on it. This one I think I might try to do a zipper up the back for ease of access, and then I might see if that's a possibility with my 18th century stays as well, because if it's a decent enough fit with that attached and not leaving it open for lacing, then I might try that. So yeah, that's where I'm at. It took me half a month just to get everything cut out. I'm definitely ready to start putting stuff together and just get a move on with these. Also, this is how I've been keeping everything organized as I'm working. So any extra lining fabric or shell fabric that I have, I'm keeping in this box for now just in case I still need it as I'm going along my process. Got my sticky notes of the designs up here, patterns in here, but then the actual pattern pieces that I used, I'm just keeping on the windowsill for easy access because sometimes I might still need to pull one of them for markings that I forgot to put on the pieces. Also, I need to show you guys this little bird. Oh my goodness. This little guy is a ruby-crowned kinglet, and it's the tiniest, cutest little bird that's been coming to my bird feeder every single day. Just the cutest little thing. And also, our yard is just completely an ice rink. That is solid ice out there. After putting together the lining and the shell pieces for the 18th century style corsets, I basted together the back of one of the linings to see if it would still fit when closed up, rather than making the back another lace-up opening as the directions originally state. Satisfied that it would indeed still fit this way, I went on to add hook and eye closure tape to the back of both corsets. I first basted them to the outer layer, facing the wrong direction, then attached the lining with right sides together over top of this. I then sewed the lining to the shell right sides together along the front edge of the corsets as well, leaving the top and bottom edges open. I put together the halves of the modified bodice corset next, leaving them separated at both the front and back openings, then attached the lining to the shell along the neckline and the armholes. I set that aside to start putting together the pieces of my first corset pattern, starting with the red toile. Since I was following the instructions more closely for this one, I put together the front and side front pieces for both lining and shell, then put together the two back pieces, but I did not join all of them. I then basted the lining to the shell with wrong sides together. I also added a channel along either side of the front opening to later add boning for more support. For the sage floral one, I did not follow the instructions verbatim and attached all lining pieces together as one and all shell pieces together as one. Much less to keep track of, honestly. I put together the shell of the black velvet corset in the same way. It was pretty straightforward, but the velvet layer itself was a huge headache. To keep the fabric from stretching or sliding around, I first hand sewed each of the pieces together, then reinforced it on the machine. I had to use a long stitch and low tension setting. This happens pretty much every time I work with velvet, so I don't know how I'm still over here like, oh man, I never saw this coming. I guess I just have velvet amnesia. So we're about halfway assembled with most of these. A couple of them are ready for me to start adding the binding around the outside edges. A few of them need a few more steps. So with both of these 18th century style ones, they are ready for me to flip right side out and start adding the binding along the bottom edge before I then add the boning and then add the top edge binding. These are well on their way. This third kind of self-drafted one, I have the lining attached to the shell, but I do still need to clip and notch everything and do my understitching. So gotta do some cleaning up and finishing on that before I flip it right sides out and start thinking about connecting the tops of the shoulders and adding a zipper up the back. So then that leaves my three that tie at the shoulders. The next thing for this red one is to just start adding the binding. The only thing is I don't know if I have enough of the color that I want. I have some, oh, it's right here. I have some brick red double fold bias tape that I really like I think that works really well with this, but I don't think I have enough. So I might actually need to order a little bit more before I can even think about working on that. So I might just set her aside for now. The floral green one, I still need to attach the shell to the lining and then clip, understitch, and then flip everything right sides out. And then this one will not need binding. So once I attach everything, clean it up, and have it flipped right sides out, then I will be moving on to adding the hardware for this one. And then lastly, that leaves my black velvet one, which I do also still need to attach the lining to the shell for this one as well. This one is such a pain in the butt because I forgot how miserable velvet is to sew. I was able to make it work by just hand basting it and then doing a wider stitch length and a lower tension setting, and I think it'll do. I think it'll be okay. So I need to baste this to the lining by hand before I attach the bias tape trim. Oh, and I did change the design a little bit. I thought initially that I would be making the black one like the red one so that the binding around the edges goes all the way around the back piece, but then I decided I didn't want that. The binding is still gonna go all the way around the outer edge of the entire piece, but I didn't really want it around the back. Some of these are ready for me to start adding the binding. Some of them still need a few more things attached, but we're getting there. We're getting there, and I have a lot of hand sewing in front of me. All right. This last stretch really had me bouncing all over the place as far as what I worked on and when, but first I took care of understitching the brown modified bodice. I then sewed the rest of the edges together except for the center back and the tops of the shoulders to flip it right sides out. I later connected the tops of the straps and added a channel of top stitching along the front to reinforce where the grommets would later go. I set that one aside again to start tackling the daunting amount of hand sewing set before me. I started with hand stitching the bottom edge binding for the upholstery corset. This took, I don't even know how many hours. I was taking the halves of this corset everywhere with me, trying to work on it in any spare moment that I could, even at rehearsal for the community theater production I'm currently in. Like everywhere you looked, there I was hand sewing. It was kind of obnoxious. I also basted the velvet corset shell to the lining by hand with wrong sides together before reinforcing that by machine on a longer stitch setting. I then added a channel on either side of the front opening for boning as I felt like it needed a little bit more structure to support the grommets. I now could add the boning to the three tops I intended it for: the black velvet and the red toile along the front opening, and the floral upholstery pretty much all over. I had also resigned myself at this point to not finishing the striped corset for this video, since I knew there was no earthly way I would find the time to make my bias tape from the remaining green fabric and then sew it on by hand. It was already just taking me so long to do the floral upholstery one. The red corset top was now ready for me to focus on adding the binding and finish putting it together. I also realized while finishing the binding along the back that I had done it wrong on the first mock-up I made of this pattern a couple years ago, having folded the binding all the way over to the outside rather than just sandwiched around the edges. I'm really still not sure how I came to that conclusion previously. I attached the binding to the velvet corset in much the same way as the red one, basting it first along the inside, then flipping it back the right way to sandwich over the edges of the top. I do still need to add something to hide the mark on the back where the shirt pocket was, but that's a problem for future me. I then hand stitched the tricky corners of the binding in place, folding under the excess. And oh look, I was still hand sewing the upholstery one. Still had the top edge to go and still toting the pieces of this corset around to slightly inappropriate locations. The last one that I tackled putting together was the sage floral top because my lining and shell did not line up correctly. The purple layer had stretched and shifted when I added the interfacing to the point that I almost remade the lining from another fabric. But I really didn't like any of the other colors that I had as much as this grayish purple, so I tried ripping off some of the interfacing to reshape it and just, I don't know, tried to make it work. I even added a fold in the lining in one spot to accommodate the weird excess of fabric that was there, and I trimmed down the straps in a couple of places. It was weird. The lining isn't pretty, but I think it worked out better than it could have. I don't know guys, I'm just stubborn and I was determined to make the fabric bend to my will. After understitching the sage one as much as possible along the armholes and neckline, I sewed together the remaining edges, leaving the bottom of the back open to flip it right sides out. I then top stitched close to all the edges, closing the hole at the back with this. And at long last, it was time to start adding my grommets. I first marked each piece with the placement of the grommets, then cut through the fabric with an awl, then widened the hole with scissors, just wide enough to snugly fit around the grommet. I have officially been working on this project and this video for a full month, and I'm done. I'm tapped out. I'm done. It was about 10 p.m. last night. I was staring down the barrel of a zipper installation and I said, nope, I'm done. I need to walk away from this for a little while. Like, I always underestimate how long a project will take, but I think this is my biggest underestimation yet. I've set a new record for myself. 4 out of the 6 are done. 1 is about 90% done, and another is about 75% done. So I'm just gonna stop here because I need to for my own sanity and show you what I have finished. Well, all of the corset tops might not technically be done, but I am done. This is where we're wrapping things up. This one, the third design from our intro, obviously she's not done yet. All she really needs is a zipper, and then I do want to swap out the lace on the front. I don't like the white ribbon with the brown, but I didn't have anything else on hand that I really liked at the moment, so it was like, whatever, this holds it together, so this is fine. This second one, that is technically just 18th century stays, I think is my favorite out of the 3 patterns. I just really like how the finished product looks, especially in this like couch material. I think it's so cute. So now I can just like sneak into a grandmother's house and hide. I'll just blend in to her couch. You're gonna go to your grandma's house and find me there, hiding on the couch, eating cookies. So this one I would say is like 75% done. I still need to put the binding around the top and bottom, put in the boning, and then add the lace-up closure, although maybe that's 50%. The finishing is always more work than you think it's gonna be. And I do like the modification I made up the back to change the closure. Having the clasps is way easier. I could even do a zipper in the future if I do another one, but I love this one. I'm obsessed with this one. And then the 3 out of the first design that I was tackling are all done. I was a little worried about this one because I was having trouble lining up the lining with the shell. And then this guy was super tricky. Velvet, man. Despite all the challenges with the black velvet one, again, did ultimately come together pretty okay. I'm not mad about it. Boy, you were a pain in my butt. And then I do still have that spot on the back that I will probably add some hand embroidery over it later to just cover up that part of the fabric where I had to remove the pocket from the shirt to make sure I didn't have enough fabric, basically, and I had to use the spot where the pocket was. The main issue I was having as I was trying to wrap things up is that my grommet hand tool is getting worn out and it's not working properly anymore. So it's most prevalent in this one with the gold gold grommets. There's just this rough, sharp edge inside all of the grommet holes from where the tool just wasn't making a clean finish. So I've ordered a new tool for when I use this size grommet in the future, but I've also ordered a larger size grommet to replace these. I think I'm gonna have to replace them because it's snagging on the ribbon. That's not gonna be good. That could lead to the ribbon just like randomly cutting in half while I'm wearing it, and suddenly my top is coming undone. So I could just cover them in embroidery floss, and that would cover up those sharp edges, but I do kind of like the contrast of the silver on the black, so I'm not sure. Might replace those, might just cover up these with thread. So the grommets on all of these, something's gonna have to be done, but otherwise they're done, and that's not like a pressing issue for me. I'll get to it when I get to it. It'll take an afternoon. So that is where I'm ending things. I have 4 out of the 6 intended corset tops done, 2 that are well on their way to being complete. I do still have more that I want to make, of course, but this is a good foundation. I feel accomplished and also completely depleted, and I need to clean this room so badly. So thank you so much for coming along on this crazy marathon sewing adventure. I don't know if it was an adventure. It was something. It was something. Thank you as always for watching. If you made it to the end of this video, leave a shopping cart emoji. I think that's an emoji. I should check, shouldn't I? And if you enjoyed hanging out, of course, make sure to subscribe so that we can hang out again next time. And I will see ya when I see ya. Bye. Oh, I'm stuck. I'm stuck. What the heck? I'm stuck. My tummy hurts. I don't have a pocket. Wait a second. Hold, please. Your call is very important to us. Wow, that doesn't match at all. Who cares?